My name is Jiwon, and the day the sky split open above Seoul, I was standing in line to awaken my first skill while eating a convenience store triangle kimbap that tasted like wet cardboard. That should tell you what kind of day I was having. Every 17-year-old in the country had to take the awakening ceremony before entering a combat academy. Most people prayed for something useful: sword aura, fire magic, steel skin, healing. Even something boring like inventory was enough to get scholarship offers and free protein drinks from guild recruiters. I wanted anything that would stop my mother from looking at our electricity bill like it was a final boss. So when I placed my hand on the crystal and the screen flashed, I held my breath. Skill acquired, Pebble Toss. Rank, F. Effect: throwing a pebble deals 1 additional point of damage. The entire hall went silent. Then someone laughed. Then another person laughed. Then the examiner laughed so hard he had to take off his glasses. I stared at the glowing screen in front of me and thought, 1 extra point? A goblin had 80 health. A normal punch from me did 12 damage. My awakened superpower was basically being slightly more annoying at the beach. I was already imagining my future career. Guild interviewer: what can you do? Me: I can throw a rock. Guild interviewer: security. But before I could remove my hand from the crystal, a second window appeared in front of my face. Only I could see it. Unique authority acquired. Skill reroll. Rank, unknown. Effect: spend EXP to reroll the rank and effects of any skill you possess. Cost increases with each reroll. No refunds. I blinked. Then I blinked again. No refunds? That was the part my brain focused on. Not the impossible hidden ability. Not the fact that unique authorities were so rare that entire nations fought diplomatic wars over them. No, I was offended by the refund policy. The examiner asked why I was staring into space, so I told him I was thinking about my future. He patted my shoulder and said, "That is understandable," which was a polite way of saying my future looked terrible. I left the ceremony with exactly 40 EXP from the awakening bonus, 1 F-rank Pebble Toss, and the strongest urge in human history to press a button I did not understand. The reroll menu hovered beside the skill. Cost, 10 EXP. Possible result, unknown. I thought about saving my EXP. Then I remembered Pebble Toss. I pressed reroll. The skill flashed. Pebble Toss became Gravel Flick. Rank, F. Effect: flicking gravel deals 2 additional points of damage. I had spent 10 EXP to gain 1 damage. I almost threw up. I pressed reroll again. Cost, 12 EXP. Gravel Flick became Pocket Sand. Rank, E. Effect: throwing sand at an enemy's face lowers accuracy by 3% for 2 seconds. I froze. That was actually useful. Not good, but useful. A normal person would have stopped. I was not a normal person. I was a 17-year-old idiot with a gambling button. I pressed reroll again. Cost, 15 EXP. Pocket Sand became Dust Allergy. Rank, F. Effect: there is a small chance to make an enemy sneeze. I stared at the screen. The screen stared back. I had 3 EXP left. That was the first lesson skill reroll taught me. Power was expensive. Stupidity was more expensive. The next morning, I arrived at Hanyul Combat Academy with 3 EXP, no money for lunch, and a skill that could theoretically defeat someone if they were allergic enough. Hanyul was the most competitive academy in the district. Students walked through the gates carrying swords worth more than my apartment. One guy had a pet lightning wolf. Another girl arrived on a floating spear and complained that the parking zone was too crowded. I took the bus. My class was filled with monsters disguised as teenagers. Seo Mina had awakened A-rank Frost Weaving. Park Doyen had B-rank Iron Body. Kang Tae-sik, the heir of the Red Fang Guild, had A-rank Dragon Pulse and the personality of a mosquito trapped inside a microphone. He looked at my uniform, looked at my shoes, looked at the plastic bag containing my lunch, then smiled. Jiwon, right? I heard you got Pebble Toss. I corrected him. Dust allergy. That somehow made it worse. He laughed so loudly that students from the next room looked over. Then he asked me to demonstrate. I grabbed a handful of dust from the windowsill and threw it at him. He sneezed. I ran. That was technically my first PvP victory. The problem was, I needed EXP. Students earned EXP by defeating monsters inside training gates. First years were restricted to the Academy's beginner dungeon, a controlled zone full of horned rabbits, slime blobs, and goblins weak enough to be bullied by children with kitchen utensils. To me, it looked like a bank. The moment classes ended, I entered the dungeon alone. My first enemy was a horned rabbit. It had 80 health. I had dust allergy. This was not an ideal matchup. I threw dust. The rabbit sneezed. I kicked it. It bit my ankle. I threw more dust. It sneezed again. I hit it with my backpack. It charged. I jumped aside. It crashed headfirst into a tree. I grabbed the tree branch, screamed like a maniac, and bonked it until the system announced I had gained 12 EXP. I nearly cried. 12 EXP. Do you know what 12 EXP meant? One bad decision. I immediately opened skill reroll. Dust allergy. Reroll cost 18 EXP. I closed it. The system was mocking me, so I started farming. I fought rabbits until my uniform looked like I had lost a war against a petting zoo. I kicked slimes into each other. I tricked goblins into chasing me around trees until they got dizzy. I stole a frying pan from an abandoned camp and discovered something amazing. A frying pan had excellent stun potential. By sunset, I had gained 180 EXP. I should have gone home. Instead, I sat on a rock and started re-rolling. Dust allergy became mud splash. Mud splash became dirty trick. Dirty trick became projectile basic. Projectile basic became stone throw. I stopped. Stone throw, rank D, effect. Any object under 1 kilogram can be thrown with triple normal speed. Now we were getting somewhere. I tested it with a pebble. The pebble shot through a tree. I stared at the hole. Then I looked at the pile of stones around my feet. Then I laughed so hard a nearby goblin heard me and ran away. Of course I re-rolled again. Stone throw became coin shot. Rank C, effect. Flicking currency turns it into a high-speed projectile. Damage increases with the value of the currency. I had finally obtained a C-rank skill. There was only one problem. I had no money. My combat style had become pay to win. I went home and emptied the jar where my mother kept spare coins for laundry. Then I put them back because I was not a monster. The next day, I asked the academy cafeteria worker if he had any expired meal tokens. He gave me 30. Meal tokens had no cash value. The skill rejected them. I tried arcade coins. Rejected. I tried a button. Rejected. I tried a 501 coin. The coin fired through 3 training dummies and embedded itself inside the concrete wall. I nodded slowly. Financial violence. Beautiful. I spent the rest of the week farming beginner monsters and becoming increasingly dangerous to my own wallet. Every time I gained enough EXP, I re-rolled something. At first, I only had coin shot, so the cost became painful. 30 EXP, 40, 55, 70. The higher the cost went, the more I understood that endlessly re-rolling one skill without a plan was stupid. Then I discovered the loophole. If I learned a new basic skill, its re-roll cost started low. The academy taught everyone cheap beginner skills like sprint, minor guard, basic punch, pain resistance, and cleaning. Yes, cleaning was a real skill. Its effect was exactly what it sounded like. It helped you clean faster. I nearly ignored it. Then I remembered I was the idiot who once possessed dust allergy. I learned everything. My status screen quickly became embarrassing. Basic punch, F. Sprint, F. Minor guard, F. Cleaning, F. Cooking, F. Breathing control, F. Coin shot, C. Then the reroll casino opened. Basic punch re-rolled into heavy knuckle. Then crushing blow. Then impact fist. Then, after 9 rerolls and most of my EXP, it became S-rank debt collector. Effect. Every strike forces the target to repay accumulated kinetic force with interest. I had no idea what that meant. So I punched a training dummy. Nothing happened for 1 second. Then every punch I had landed during the previous minute seemed to explode inside the dummy at once. The dummy disappeared. Not broke. Not shattered. Disappeared. A clean circular hole appeared in the wall behind it. The instructor walked into the room, looked at the hole, looked at me, and asked what happened. I told him the dummy had financial problems. He did not laugh. My sprint skill became quick step, then wind walk, then flash dash, then an A-rank skill called unpaid overtime. Effect. Movement speed doubles whenever I am late, chased, or desperately trying to escape responsibility. I tested it by borrowing Kang Taesik's limited edition sword without permission. I crossed the academy in 4 seconds. Taesik chased me for 20 minutes. The skill grew stronger because technically I was late to return his sword. That was when I realized skill reroll did not simply improve abilities. Sometimes it became weirdly specific, and weirdly specific was terrifying. Cleaning rerolled into dust removal, then spotless, then purification, then S-rank divine janitor. Effect. Anything identified as unclean can be cleansed. I thought it meant stains. It did not mean stains. I used it on a cursed training blade. The curse vanished. I used it on poisoned water. The poison vanished. I used it on a classmate who had skipped a shower after dungeon training. His body glowed for 3 seconds and his dandruff disappeared. He thanked me with tears in his eyes. Then I tried it on a demon slime. The slime had the trait corrupted creature. My skill decided corruption was unclean. The slime was erased from existence. I stood there holding a mop. That was the moment I accepted that my future might actually be very strange. My biggest problem was still EXP. Rerolls 8 EXP faster than Taesik ate expensive steak, while talking loudly about his family. So I needed a better farming method. The beginner dungeon reset monsters slowly because the academy never expected one student to clear hundreds of creatures a day. I had turned the rabbit population into a historical memory. The goblins had started hiding when they heard my footsteps. One slime saw me enter, shook violently, then jumped into a pit by itself. I felt a little bad, only a little. So when the academy announced an optional weekend expedition to the E-rank dungeon called Rat King Sewer, I signed up before the instructor finished speaking. Everyone else hated the sewer. It smelled like ancient socks. The floor was wet. The monsters were giant rats. To me, it was paradise. Rats spawned in groups. Groups meant EXP. The instructor warned us to move in teams of 4. I joined Mina, a nervous healer named Yoon Era, and Taesik. Taesik looked like he would rather fight the dungeon boss alone than stand near me. I smiled. He became more nervous. We entered the sewer. 5 minutes later, 20 rats surrounded us. Taesik activated Dragon Pulse. Mina created an ice wall. Ara began healing, and I pulled out a mop. Taesik screamed, "Why do you have that?" I activated Divine Janitor. The skill asked me to define what I considered unclean. I looked at the sewer rats. I looked at the sewer water. I looked at Taesik's personality. I selected rats. A white circle expanded from the mop. Every rat inside it vanished. Not died. Vanished. The system showered me with EXP. 360. My knees almost gave out. Taesik stared at the empty tunnel. Mina stared at my mop. Era asked if I was secretly a priest. I told her I was in sanitation. After that, the dungeon became a grocery store. We walked. Rats appeared. I cleaned. EXP increased. We reached the first mini-boss, Plague Rat Captain. It was 3 meters tall, covered in disease, wearing armor made from trash, and carrying a rusty cleaver. I had never seen anything more qualified for cleaning. One swing of the mop erased it. 900 EXP. My smile became dangerous. Mina noticed. She asked, "Why do you look like that?" I said, "Compound interest." She did not understand. Neither did I. I just wanted to sound cool. At the boss room, the Rat King emerged from a mountain of bones. It was huge. Its body was covered in black fur. Its eyes burned red. It possessed an aura skill that made weaker students freeze in fear. Taesik activated Dragon Pulse. Mina froze the floor. Era prepared healing magic. I raised my mop. Then the Rat King's status appeared. Species, mutated sewer emperor. Traits, filthy, diseased, gluttonous, territorial, royal. Divine Janitor activated automatically. Target contains severe unclean traits. Would you like to perform deep cleaning? I selected yes. The mop began glowing. The Rat King actually stopped roaring. It looked at me. I looked at it. For one strange second, we both knew what was about to happen. I swung. A white beam filled the tunnel. When my vision returned, the boss was gone. The bones were gone. The sewage was gone. The rust on the pipes was gone. The cracks in the bricks were gone. Taesik's expensive boots were polished. Era's hair became shiny. Mina's uniform looked brand new, and the entire sewer smelled like lemon. The dungeon system announced a perfect sanitation bonus. I gained 4,000 EXP. I almost fainted from happiness. That night, while everyone else celebrated our record clear, I locked myself inside my room and re-rolled like a man possessed. Cooking became meal prep. Meal prep became battle chef. Battle chef became C-rank explosive seasoning. I stopped because anything called explosive seasoning deserved respect. Breathing control became deep breath. Then oxygen efficiency. Then lung furnace. Then S-rank dragon respiratory system. Effect. Every breath converts surrounding energy into stamina. Exhaling at maximum output releases compressed force. I tested it carefully by blowing at a tissue. The tissue exploded. My curtain exploded. The window exploded. A bird outside screamed and changed direction. I decided to test skills outdoors from then on. Minor guard became shell. Shell became barrier skin. Barrier skin became reflective armor. Then S-rank returned to sender. Effect. Any attack blocked perfectly can be returned to the original attacker with multiplied force. That was absurd. Even I knew that was absurd. Then I saw the EXP cost for the next reroll. 800. I hesitated. The skill was already S-rank. Any sane human being would keep it. But somewhere deep inside my soul, the gambling demon whispered one sentence. What if the next one is better? I pressed reroll. Return to sender became paper shield. Rank E. Effect. Paper objects used as shields gain minor durability. I stared at the screen for 30 full seconds. Then I screamed into my pillow. Skill reroll did not guarantee upgrades. That was the second lesson. Never get emotionally attached. I spent another 3,000 EXP trying to repair my mistake. Paper shield became book cover. Book cover became cardboard knight. Cardboard knight became origami fortress. Origami fortress became A-rank 1000 paper citadel. Then the final reroll consumed the last of my sewer EXP. The skill flashed gold. SS-Rank absolute receipt. Effect. When struck by an attack, generate a record of the damage. The recorded damage can be refunded once to any target within sight. I sat there in silence. Then I whispered, worth it. The next Monday, Hanuel Academy began official skill evaluations. This was where students showed their awakened skills, received combat rankings, and attracted sponsors. The event was streamed to Guild Scouts. Parents watched from the stands. Upperclassmen watched because they enjoyed seeing first years embarrass themselves. My mother came directly from work wearing her bakery uniform. She waved at me from the audience while carrying a box of unsold bread. That box was more valuable to me than every guild scout in the arena. I wanted to make her proud. Unfortunately, the Academy's evaluation rules were terrible for me. Students had to register one primary awakened skill, not learned Academy skills, not equipment skills. The original awakened skill. Mine had started as Pebble Toss. Technically, Coin Shot was its current re-rolled form, but another week of farming had changed it again. I had re-rolled Coin Shot into Token Cannon. Token Cannon became Object Flick. Object Flick became Bullet Finger. Bullet Finger became Mass Driver. Mass Driver became S-Rank Casual Throw. Effect. Any object I throw ignores 90% of air resistance and gains force based on how little effort I appear to use. It was ridiculous. But the system still classified its lineage as Pebble Toss. So when my turn arrived and the examiner asked for my awakened skill category, the display showed, Original Skill, Pebble Toss. The stadium exploded with laughter. Taesik laughed the hardest. He was standing with the elite students after scoring 92 points with Dragon Pulse. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Throw a rock at the target." Someone else yelled, "Be careful, it might hurt." I walked onto the arena floor holding a pebble. The examiner looked embarrassed for me. The target was a giant reinforced slab designed to measure impact. He told me to attack whenever ready. I looked toward the audience. My mother was not laughing. She gave me a thumbs up. That was enough. I activated Casual Throw. Then I decided not to throw the pebble hard. The skill became stronger the less effort I seemed to use. So I yawned. I turned away from the target. I tossed the pebble backward over my shoulder. The pebble disappeared. For half a second, nothing happened. Then the target slab vanished. The reinforced wall behind it vanished. The barrier behind that shattered. The shockwave crossed the academy field, ripped a straight line through 3 training buildings, divided a decorative fountain into 2 equal halves, and launched Taesik's hair backward so hard he looked bald for 3 seconds. The pebble continued into the sky. A second later, the Academy's orbital monitoring system reported an unidentified projectile leaving the atmosphere. The arena became silent. Not normal silent. Religious silent. The examiner slowly looked down at the skill scanner. The device was smoking. He hit it. The display flickered. Current skill rank, SSS. I had not known it was SSS. Apparently the last reroll had hidden the rank because the Academy scanner needed direct activation data to analyze it. The audience stopped laughing. My mother dropped the bread. A guild scout stood up so fast his chair broke. Taesik pointed at me and shouted, "That was Pebble Toss?" I shrugged. Advanced Pebble Toss. The evaluation ended immediately because part of the Academy no longer existed. I received a score of 100. Then the system added a note. Measurement incomplete. Estimated score, please stop. For exactly 7 minutes, my life was perfect. Then the Academy director summoned me. Director Ma Kyung-ho was an S-rank hunter who had once killed a sea serpent by punching it underwater. He was also the kind of man who looked angry even while drinking tea. I entered his office. He placed a cracked skill scanner on the desk. He asked how my F-rank awakened skill became SSS. I said, hard work. He stared at me. I said, very specific hard work. He stared harder. Unique abilities were dangerous knowledge. If the government learned I could re-roll skills endlessly, I would become a national resource before dinner. Guilds would fight over me. Researchers would want to test me. Taesik's family would probably try to buy me a suit and marry me to someone. So I did what every genius strategist does under pressure. I lied badly. I told Director Ma my Pebble Toss evolved after emotional growth. He asked what emotional growth. I said I became more emotionally connected to rocks. The silence nearly killed me. Then something unexpected happened. Director Ma laughed, not because he believed me, because he knew I was lying and found it funny. He leaned back and said he did not care about my secret as long as I did not destroy another building. Then he handed me a bill. The bill was for the building. I nearly died. I told him maybe he should care about my secret instead. He reduced the bill after my mother threatened to make him pay for the bread I had caused her to drop. That was how I learned my mother was stronger than an S-rank hunter. After the academy test, my life became chaos. Clips of my pebble throw spread online. People called me Pebble God. Someone edited glowing eyes onto my face. Someone sold fake Jiwon stones outside the academy. A streamer claimed he could replicate my technique and threw a rock through his own television. 3 guilds sent recruitment offers. The Blue Shield Guild offered money. The White Tiger Guild offered an apartment. Red Fang Guild sent Taesik's father. He arrived in a limousine. He wore a red suit. He offered me a contract, a signing bonus, a sports car, and friendship with the Kang family. I asked whether friendship included free meals. He said yes. I almost signed. Then I noticed the contract contained a clause giving Red Fang Guild priority access to my skill development data. I smiled. Then I used Divine Janitor on the contract. The ink vanished. Mr. Kang stared at the blank paper. I told him the contract looked cleaner. He left without saying goodbye. Taesik spent the next day glaring at me. I offered him a pebble. He did not take it. The fame brought another problem. I could no longer farm the beginner dungeon normally. Students followed me around asking for tips. Guild scouts camped outside the gates. One boy asked me to bless his collection of rocks, so I needed a new EXP source. That opportunity arrived in the form of an academy emergency. An unstable gate appeared beneath the old gymnasium. The academy alarm activated at noon. Students were evacuated. Teachers prepared suppression barriers. The gate was rated C rank at first, then jumped to B, then A. That should not happen. Gates did not normally change rank after appearing. This one was growing. Director Ma ordered every first-year student to leave campus. I was walking toward the exit when my system flashed. Hidden condition detected. Abnormal gate contains skill fragments. Skill fragments can reduce reroll costs. I stopped so suddenly Mina walked into my back. She asked what was wrong. I said I have developed an educational interest in the gymnasium. She grabbed my sleeve. No. I looked at the gate. Yes. No. Respectfully, yes. Taesik appeared beside us. For once, he agreed with Mina. He said entering an unstable A-rank gate as first years was suicide. That was reasonable. Then the ground exploded. Black chains shot from the gate and wrapped around dozens of students. The evacuation zone collapsed into chaos. Teachers attacked the chains, but each broken chain split into two. One wrapped around Mina's ankle. I grabbed her before she was pulled away. Then another chain wrapped around my waist. Taesik tried to cut it. The chain grabbed him too. Era got caught while healing someone. The gate opened like a mouth, and all four of us were dragged inside. We landed in a ruined city beneath a purple sky. Broken towers floated upside down. Rivers flowed into the air. Hundreds of black statues stood in the streets. Every statue had a human face. The dungeon message appeared. Welcome to the skill graveyard. Clear condition. Survive. Recommended rank. A. Our average rank was nowhere near A. Taesik looked at me. I looked at him. He said, "Do not say anything." I said, "Field trip." He threw a rock at me. I was proud. The first monsters arrived immediately. They looked like armored knights with blank faces. Their weapons were made of black glass. Mina froze the street. Taesik charged. Era created a barrier. I used Dragon Respiratory System and inhaled. Energy flooded my lungs. Then I exhaled. The compressed blast launched 6 knights through a building. Taesik stopped mid-punch. "You can breathe people to death now? Academy training." "That is not academy training." He was correct. The knights rebuilt themselves. That was annoying. Mina froze them again. They shattered. The pieces moved. Era tried purification. No effect. I used Divine Janitor. The skill responded. Target status, not unclean. I hated respectful undead. Then I remembered absolute receipt. I let one knight hit my guard. Pain exploded through my shoulder. Damage recorded, 1,240. Refund available. I pointed at the knight. Refund. The knight received its own damage multiplied by the skill's hidden calculation. Its body folded backward, flew across the city, smashed through a tower, and disappeared into the purple clouds. Taesik stared. I told him I was processing a return. He told me he hated fighting beside me. We quickly learned the dungeon's gimmick. Every monster carried a fragment of a dead skill. Defeating them dropped fragments like shattered crystals. My system absorbed them automatically. Reroll discount accumulated. 5%, 10%, 20%. My heart started beating faster. I had entered heaven. Very creepy heaven. We fought through the city. Mina's frost weaving froze entire streets. Taesik's dragon pulse smashed monsters into walls. Era evolved from nervous healer to terrifying support monster the moment she realized her healing magic could overload undead creatures with life energy. She slapped one ghost and it exploded. She apologized to it. Then she did it again. Meanwhile, I collected skill fragments. The deeper we went, the stronger the enemies became. A giant armored centipede crawled from a subway tunnel. Its body had hundreds of stolen skills embedded along its shell. Fire resistance, poison spit, rapid recovery, enhanced legs again, enhanced legs again. It had so many leg skills I felt insulted. The monster charged. I activated unpaid overtime because being chased counted. My speed doubled, then doubled again when I realized we were also late for evacuation. I ran up the side of a building. The centipede followed. I jumped. It jumped. I activated casual throw and tossed my shoe. I made sure to look bored. The shoe hit the centipede's face with enough force to rotate the entire monster in midair. It crashed into the street. Taesik shouted, "Your shoe." I landed barefoot. High-quality shoe. It is Academy uniform equipment. Exactly. The centipede survived. That was impressive. Then Mina froze its legs. Era overloaded its regeneration. Taesik punched its face. I used Debt Collector and added kinetic interest. The centipede exploded into fragments. My system absorbed everything. Reroll cost discount. 60%. I started laughing. Mina told me my laugh was becoming villainous. I told her that was just financial excitement. At the center of the city, we found the source of the gate, a cathedral made from weapons. Inside stood a statue wearing a crown. Its body was covered in glowing skill names, hundreds of them, thousands. The moment we entered, the statue opened its eyes. Skill Eater Monarch. Rank, unknown. The dungeon message changed. Clear condition updated. Defeat the monarch before it consumes all active skills. Taesik raised his fists. Mina prepared ice. Era activated healing. I opened my status. Then the monarch smiled. Every skill on our screens began flickering. One by one, they turned gray. Mina's frost weaving vanished. Taesik's dragon pulse vanished. Era's healing vanished. My academy skills vanished. Dragon respiratory system. Debt collector. Divine janitor. Absolute receipt. Everything locked, except one thing. Skill reroll. The monarch had stolen skills. It could not steal the authority that changed skills. My system flashed. Foreign interference detected. Current skills sealed. Rerolling remains available. I started laughing again. The monarch probably thought I had lost my mind. Maybe I had. Without skills, we were basically 4 teenagers, standing in front of an ancient monster. Taesik charged anyway. I respected that. The monarch backhanded him across the cathedral. Mina grabbed a broken spear. Era dragged Taesik behind cover. I opened my skill list. Every sealed skill could still be re-rolled, because the monarch had locked the current version, not the slot. I selected Debt Collector. Re-roll cost after fragment discount. 180 EXP. I had 12,000 EXP saved. I pressed reroll. Debt Collector became Touch of Ruin. Rank B. Sealed status disappeared. The monarch's steal ability had been tied to the previous skill identity. I grinned. That was the loophole. The monster roared and tried to seal Touch of Ruin. I rerolled again before it could finish. Touch of Ruin became Gentle Tap. Rank F. Bad. Again. Gentle Tap became Muscle Echo. Rank C. Again. Muscle Echo became King's Knuckle. Rank A. Again. King's Knuckle became S-rank consecutive consequences. Effect. Every successful hit increases the damage of the next hit. The multiplier resets if I miss. I stopped. That would do. I re-rolled unpaid overtime. It became Slow Jog. Then Panic Run. Then A-rank Coward's Miracle. Effect. The more dangerous the opponent, the faster I can move away from it. At first, I hated the name. Then I looked at the Skill Eater Monarch. Its danger rating was so high the system displayed question marks. I took one step backward. I moved so fast I created a sonic boom. Taesik shouted something. I could not hear him because I was already on the other side of the cathedral. This was excellent. I used Coward's Miracle to sprint away from the boss, then curved around and approached from behind. Technically, I was still fleeing. The skill did not care about direction, only intent. So I convinced myself I was running away in a circle. My speed became absurd. I landed one punch. Consecutive consequences multiplied the next. 2 punches. 3, 4. The monarch tried to turn. Too slow. 5, 6, 7. Every hit became stronger. The cathedral started shaking. At 20 hits, the monster's armor cracked. At 30, the floor collapsed. At 40, my fists sounded like artillery. Then the monarch created a barrier directly behind its head. My next punch hit the barrier. Did that count as a miss? The multiplier reset. I screamed. The monarch laughed. I took that personally. It stole Mina's spear. It stole Taesik's broken gauntlet. It stole Era's emergency healing potion. Then it reached toward me and stole something even worse. My shoe. The remaining shoe. I looked down at my bare feet. The cathedral became very quiet. Mina whispered, "Oh no." Taesik asked why she said that. She pointed at me. I re-rolled Casual Throw. Massive fragment discount reduced the cost enough for repeated attempts. Casual Throw became Lazy Pitch. Lazy Pitch became Trash Shot. Trash Shot became A-rank Anything is Ammunition. I kept going. Anything is Ammunition became S-rank Zero Effort Catapult. Again, the skill flashed white gold. SSS-Rank Conceptual Throw. Effect. Anything I can define as held may be thrown, including non-physical targets, provided I can establish ownership or control for 1 moment. I read the effect twice, then 3 times. The Skill Eater Monarch raised my stolen shoe like a trophy. That was its mistake. The shoe was mine. Ownership established. I activated Conceptual Throw. The system asked what I wanted to throw. I selected my shoe, but I did not throw it at the monarch. I threw the distance between my shoe and my foot. The concept of distance vanished. My shoe instantly appeared on my foot. Everyone froze. Even the monarch looked confused. I laughed. Then I selected something else. The monarch had stolen our skills. That meant it currently held them. I defined the stolen skills as property taken from us. Ownership contested. System calculating. My skill reroll interface began shaking. Then the condition cleared. Temporary control established through original ownership. Target throwable. Stolen skill collection. I grabbed the air and threw. Thousands of stolen skills blasted out of the monarch's body like fireworks. Mina's frost weaving returned. Tasek's dragon pulse returned. Ara's healing returned. My sealed skills returned. The monarch screamed. Its power collapsed. Then I used conceptual throw one more time. This time, I defined the monarch's balance as something it was holding. I threw its balance to the left. The 10-meter statue tripped. Tasek laughed so hard he almost forgot to attack. Mina froze its legs. Ara overloaded the cracks with healing energy. I activated consecutive consequences. 1 punch, 2, 3. This time, no barrier. 10, 20, 30. At 50, the cathedral roof blew away. At 70, the monarch's crown shattered. At 99, the system warned me my next strike exceeded local dungeon stability. I smiled. 100. The punch landed. The Skill Eater Monarch shot through the cathedral, crossed the floating city, punched a hole through the purple sky, and disappeared. The entire dungeon cracked. EXP gained 80,000. Skill fragments gained. Excessive. Unique reward acquired. Blank skill slot. I did not even have time to celebrate. The dungeon began collapsing. Tasek shouted that I had destroyed another building. I told him the building was evil. We ran. Mina created ice bridges over collapsing streets. Ara healed us while sprinting. Tasek used Dragon Pulse to smash falling debris. I activated Coward's Miracle. The dungeon itself was trying to kill me. Apparently that counted as a dangerous opponent. I became a human missile. I grabbed all 3 of them and ran. Mina screamed. Ara screamed. Tasek screamed the loudest. We reached the portal in 6 seconds. We shot out of the unstable gate beneath the academy gym and crashed through a stack of emergency barriers. Director Ma was standing outside. He looked at us. He looked at my bare foot because one shoe had fallen off again. He looked at the gate. The gate exploded behind me. He closed his eyes. I knew that expression. Another bill. But instead of yelling, he grabbed my shoulder and asked what happened inside. I told him the gate contained a monarch that stole skills. His face changed. That name meant something to him. Before I could ask, government hunters entered the gym. Not academy staff. Government. Black uniforms. Silver badges. The National Ability Bureau. Their leader introduced herself as Inspector Cha Yunso. She had an S-rank mental skill called Truth Mirror. That was bad. Very bad. She looked at the broken gate. Then she looked directly at me. Han Jiwon, we need to discuss your abilities. I wanted to use Coward's Miracle. Unfortunately, Inspector Cha did not look dangerous. She looked polite. My escape skill refused to activate. I had never hated politeness more. We were taken to separate rooms. The bureau questioned us. Mina told the truth about the monster stealing skills. Tasek told the truth but probably added unnecessary descriptions about how cool his punches were. Ara cried because she thought she was in trouble. Then it was my turn. Inspector Che sat across from me. No weapons, no threats, just tea. That was terrifying. She asked how I regained sealed skills inside the dungeon. I said my skills were emotionally flexible. She stared at me. I was developing a bad reputation for emotional explanations. Her eyes glowed. Truth Mirror activated. I felt pressure against my mind. My skill reroll window flashed. Foreign analysis detected. Would you like to reroll resistance response? I almost laughed. The system could reroll interactions? I spent EXP. Mental resistance response rerolled. Failure. Again. Failure. Again. Partial camouflage. Again. A-rank administrative error. Effect. Attempts to inspect hidden personal data may receive technically valid, but completely useless information. I selected it. Inspector Cha's eyes glowed brighter. Then her expression changed. She read something in the air. What? I leaned forward. What does it say? She hesitated. Then she turned the inspection result toward me. Subject. Han Jiwon. Hidden trait analysis. Enjoys fried dumplings. I nodded. Accurate. She tried again. The result changed. Subject owns 6 pairs of socks. Also accurate. Again. Subject currently wants to leave. Extremely accurate. Inspector Chi deactivated her skill and rubbed her forehead. I drank the tea. I was winning through bureaucracy. That should have been the end of the interrogation. Instead, she slid a photograph across the table. It showed another skill graveyard gate, not ours. This one had appeared 3 months earlier in Busan. Then another photograph. One in Japan, another in Turkey, another in Canada. Every gate contained statues with stolen skills. Every gate had grown unstable. Most had collapsed before hunters could clear them. She asked whether I saw a crown symbol inside. I remembered the monarch. Its broken crown, a black symbol shaped like 3 stacked circles. I nodded. Inspector Cha became serious. She explained that the Bureau believed someone was creating artificial gates designed to collect awakened abilities, not monsters. Someone. That was enough to ruin my day. Then she said the government wanted to recruit me into a special investigation unit. I nearly choked on tea. I was 17. I had homework. I had destroyed 2 school buildings. I was not qualified for government conspiracy. She said my combat output suggested otherwise. I asked whether government agents received free meals. She said yes. I asked for time to consider. I was joking. She handed me a temporary agent card. Apparently, I had already considered enough. When I returned home, my mother was waiting with crossed arms. She had seen the news, not the conspiracy part. The part where I emerged from an exploding academy gate carrying 3 classmates at impossible speed. She asked if I was hurt. I said no. She asked if my friends were hurt. I said no. She asked if I had destroyed anything. I looked at the wall. She sighed. Then she made dinner. That was scarier than yelling. I decided to become stronger before the universe gave her another reason to worry. I had 80,000 EXP and a blank skill slot. I locked my bedroom door. The reroll menu opened. Blank skill slot had no effect. I could feed it a basic concept and generate a random F-rank skill. My choices included common actions: jumping, sleeping, listening, blinking, walking, pointing. I stopped at one option: blinking. It sounded useless, which meant it had potential. I generated blink. Rank F. Effect: blinking slightly reduces eye dryness. I re-rolled. Moist eyes. Again. Fast blink. Again. Double blink. Again. Combat blink. Rank D. Effect: briefly sharpen perception after blinking. Again. Perfect blink. Rank B. Effect: the instant my eyes close, mental processing accelerates. Again. S rank missing frame. Effect: anything I personally fail to observe for less than 1 second becomes harder for my mind to track afterward. Weird. Again. SS rank cutscene. Effect: by closing and opening my eyes, I may skip my own perception forward up to 3 seconds, while my body continues following the last deliberate action. That sounded dangerous. Imagine starting to run, blinking, then waking up 3 seconds later inside a wall. I re-rolled. The cost jumped. The screen flashed. SSS-Rank editor's privilege. Effect: once per minute, close my eyes to remove 1 second from my personal timeline. During the removed second, I cannot be affected by external events. Momentum is preserved when I return. I stopped breathing. Then I remembered Dragon Respiratory System and started breathing again. 1 second of not existing. Every minute. I went outside to test it in an empty training park. I stood in front of a falling practice hammer. Blink. The world disappeared. When I opened my eyes, the hammer had already passed through the place where I had been. I reappeared standing in the same position. The hammer was behind me. I smiled. This was not dodging. This was refusing to attend the attack. Beautiful. The next morning, the academy posted a special notice. Due to recent gate instability, first-year students would participate in accelerated combat trials. Director Ma said the world was becoming more dangerous. I suspected he also wanted to see whether I would accidentally destroy a third building. The accelerated trials took place in the Grand Simulation Dome, a giant reinforced arena capable of generating monster waves. Students were placed in teams. Our team remained Mina, Ara, Taesik, and me, because the academy had apparently given up separating disaster from disaster. The first wave contained 50 armored goblins. Mina froze 20. Taesik smashed 10. Era supported. I used Divine Janitor after deciding goblin armor contained battlefield grime. The armor vanished. The goblins became very confused. Taesik became uncomfortable. We cleared the wave in 30 seconds. Second wave, ogres. I used Conceptual Throw to throw their anger behind them. Every ogre suddenly turned around looking for where its rage went. Mina froze their feet. Taesik punched them. Third wave, flying wyverns. I used Casual Throw's evolved lineage, Conceptual Throw, to throw the wyverns' altitude downward. They fell. The instructor running the simulation stopped taking notes. Fourth wave, mirror assassins. They copied our skills. One copied Divine Janitor. It looked at me with a glowing mop. I had never felt so personally threatened. We fought a cleaning duel. White beams crossed the arena. The floor became spotless. The walls became spotless. Taesik's hair became unusually shiny. Eventually, I used Editor's Privilege to disappear for 1 second during the mirror's attack and reappeared behind it. Then I used Consecutive Consequences. The mirror shattered. The simulation announced bonus score for environmental cleanliness. The final wave was supposed to be impossible. A simulated S-rank dragon descended from the sky. Its wings covered half the dome. Students in the stands started shouting. The dragon breathed fire. Mina's barrier cracked. Taesik could not block it. Era screamed. I activated Absolute Receipt. The fire hit my guard. Damage recorded. Catastrophic. My health dropped so low, the system started showing warning symbols. Era healed me immediately. The dragon prepared another breath. I pointed upward. Refund. The entire recorded dragon breath returned to the dragon's own face. The explosion slammed it into the ceiling. Then I activated Debt Collector's evolved slot. Consecutive Consequences. Coward's Miracle increased my speed because yes, a dragon was dangerous. I ran up falling debris. Punch 1, punch 2, punch 3. The dragon tried to bite me. Editor's Privilege. Blink. I vanished from the bite. reappeared on its nose. Punch 4, punch 5, punch 6. Then I grabbed one of its horns. Conceptual throw activated. I defined the dragon as held because I was holding part of it. The system paused. Target mass exceeds normal concept allowance. Spend EXP to force interpretation. I looked at my remaining EXP. I looked at the dragon. I pressed yes. I threw the dragon, not across the arena, up. The dragon hit the reinforced ceiling. The dome shook. Director Ma stood from his seat. I knew he was calculating repair costs. The dragon fell. Taesik jumped and punched it downward. Mina froze the impact zone. The dragon crashed into the ice. Simulation complete. Score, invalid. I loved that score. After the trial, the Academy's best students received invitations to a national youth competition called the Crown Selection. Normally first years were not invited. This year, because monster outbreaks were increasing, the government opened additional slots. Inspector Cha personally delivered my invitation. The Crown Selection was not just a tournament. It was a scouting event for elite guilds, government teams, and international academies. Most importantly, the winner received access to a national sealed dungeon for 1 day. Sealed dungeon meant rare monsters. Rare monsters meant EXP. I accepted before she finished speaking. Taesik received an invitation. Mina received one. Era received one because apparently slapping undead creatures into explosions had become famous. 2 weeks later, we arrived at the National Hunter Stadium. 50,000 people filled the seats. Cameras floated overhead. Giant screens showed rankings. Competitors came from the strongest academies in the country. One guy had S-rank gravity control. One girl summoned a giant armored bear. Another student walked around surrounded by 12 floating swords. Taesik looked excited. Mina looked focused. Ara looked like she wanted to go home. I looked at the EXP rewards. The tournament used monster-assisted matches. Defeating summoned monsters gave reduced EXP. Reduced was still EXP. I nearly hugged the registration desk. The opening round was a battlefield race. 200 competitors entered a simulated ruined city filled with monsters. Only the first 50 to reach the central tower qualified. Normal strategy involved speed and teamwork. My strategy involved unpaid overtime's re-rolled replacement. Coward's Miracle. The race started. I needed danger to activate maximum speed, so I ran toward the biggest monster, a giant cyclops. It roared. I screamed back. Danger confirmed. My speed multiplied. I ran away. Unfortunately for everyone else, I ran away toward the finish line. I reached the tower in 19 seconds. The officials assumed the timing system broke. Second place arrived 3 minutes later. It was Mina. She looked at me sitting on the finish platform eating a snack. She asked how long I had been there. I said long enough to regret not bringing 2 snacks. The second round was a duel. My opponent was Lee Sojun from Baeko Academy. S-rank lightning spear. He had been ranked #1 among youth fighters. He entered the arena surrounded by electricity. The crowd cheered. He pointed his spear at me and said he had studied every public video of my skills. That was a problem. Then he said he knew I relied on throwing techniques and strange defense. That was not a problem, because half my skills were not public. The duel began. Lightning crossed the arena. I used editor's privilege. Blink. The lightning passed through my missing second. I reappeared closer. He fired again. Blink was on cooldown, so I blocked. Absolute receipt recorded the damage. My arm went numb. Era was not in the match, so no healing. Fine. Seo-jun charged. His spear became pure lightning. I activated Coward's Miracle because he was dangerous. I retreated at absurd speed. He chased. The crowd probably thought I was running away. Technically, I was. Then I curved around behind him. He spun instantly. Very skilled. He thrust the spear. I grabbed it. Pain shot through my hand. He smiled. That was his mistake. I had control of the spear for 1 moment. Conceptual throw. I threw the spear's ownership. The system asked for a new destination. I selected me. The spear vanished from his hand and appeared in mine. Sishin stared at his empty hand. I stared at the lightning spear. Then I realized I did not know how to use a spear, so I threw it, casually. The weapon crossed the arena and buried itself inside the barrier. Seo-jin looked offended. He attacked bare-handed with lightning. I used absolute receipt. Refund. His previous lightning damage returned. The blast launched him backward. He landed outside the ring. The crowd exploded. I walked over and returned his spear after the match. He asked what my skill actually was. I said, Pebble Toss. He stared at me for a long time. Then he laughed. I liked him immediately. The tournament continued. Every match became stranger. I fought a summoner who created 30 wolves. I re-rolled explosive seasoning mid-match after realizing I had barely used it. Explosive seasoning became spicy bomb. Then flavor burst. Then A-rank chef's authority. Effect. Any creature that eats food I prepare temporarily accepts 1 command related to the meal. I had no time to cook, so I re-rolled again. Chef's authority became S-rank edible logic. Effect. If I can convince a target that something is food, Consuming it creates a temporary effect based on what it symbolically represents. That was dangerous nonsense. The summoned wolves attacked. I grabbed a stamina potion. I told the nearest wolf it was liquid courage. The wolf bit the bottle. Its fear disappeared. Unfortunately, it was a summoned wolf and already fearless. Bad test. Then I grabbed a piece of chalk. I told another wolf it was brain food. It ate the chalk. Its intelligence increased. It stopped attacking me and started looking embarrassed by the other wolves. It sat down. I won the match because the smartest wolf convinced the others to stop. The summoner filed a complaint. The judges rejected it because no rule prohibited educational snacks. In the semi-final, I faced Tasik. Of course, he walked into the arena smiling. Not arrogant smiling. Excited smiling. We had survived a skill graveyard together. We had fought monsters. We had argued daily. He wanted a real fight. I wanted the sealed dungeon EXP. Friendship had limits. The match began. Tasik's dragon pulse had evolved. He had trained constantly since the graveyard. His aura took the shape of a red dragon. He punched. I blocked. Absolute receipt recorded the damage, but my feet still slid across the arena. He was stronger. He punched again. I used editor's privilege. Blink. His fist passed through. I reappeared beside him and started consecutive consequences. 1, 2. He blocked the third. Multiplier reset. He smiled. He had studied me too. He launched a shockwave. I used conceptual throw to throw the shockwave upward. The stadium roof rattled. He charged inside the distraction. Smart. His knee hit my ribs. Pain exploded. Absolute receipt recorded more damage. I tried to create distance. Coward's miracle barely accelerated. That annoyed me. Apparently part of me did not consider Tasik truly dangerous. My system had become sentimental. Disgusting. He landed another hit. I slid backward. Tasik shouted, "Stop using weird tricks and fight me properly." I shouted back, "Weird tricks are my properly." Then I opened skill reroll. I had saved enough EXP for emergency combat rerolls. I selected consecutive consequences. Reroll. It became B rank combo breaker. Again. A rank momentum king. Again. S rank equal exchange. Effect. Sacrifice one physical advantage to temporarily multiply another. Interesting. I selected height. I was slightly taller than Tasik. I sacrificed my height advantage. My body shrank 3 centimeters. My strength multiplied. Tasik stopped moving. I looked down. My pants were now slightly too long. I hated the skill, but power flooded my arms. Tasik punched. I punched. The collision created a shockwave that blew papers out of the judge's booth. We both slid backward. He laughed. I laughed. Then I sacrificed my hair quality. Strength increased again. My hair flattened instantly. The giant stadium screen zoomed in. I screamed at the camera. Tasik was laughing too hard to defend. I punched him out of the ring. I won. But at what cost? My hair looked terrible for 12 minutes. The final opponent was not Lee Sejun. It was Seo Mina. She had quietly destroyed everyone on the opposite side of the bracket. Her frost weaving had evolved into S-rank Winter Throne during the tournament. She entered the final arena surrounded by snow. The temperature dropped. The crowd became quiet. Mina looked at me and said, "Do not destroy the stadium." I said, "That depends on the stadium." The match began. Ice covered the ground instantly. I tried Coward's Miracle. Minimal boost. Apparently, I also did not consider Mina dangerous. Then an iceberg the size of a house fell toward me. The skill immediately changed its opinion. Speed multiplied. I escaped. Mina created hundreds of ice spears. I used conceptual throw to throw their direction sideways. The spears curved. She predicted it. The redirected spears formed a cage. I blinked. Editor's privilege removed 1 second. I passed through the forming cage. She froze the air around me the instant I returned. My legs locked. I used Divine Janitor. Target status, ice considered clean. Useless. I tried to redefine unwanted ice as contamination. The skill rejected my argument. Apparently Divine Janitor had standards. Mina walked closer. She created a blade. I re-rolled Divine Janitor. It became Sacred Cleaner. Again. Purity Field. Again. B rank remove stain. Terrible. Again. A rank erase trace. Again. S rank no evidence. Effect. Remove all traces that a selected action occurred within the last 5 seconds, excluding memories. I stopped. What did that mean? Mina attacked. I activated no evidence on the action of ice forming around my legs. The ice vanished. Not melted. The traces of its formation were erased. My legs were free. Mina's eyes widened. I rushed forward. She froze the floor. I erased the trace. No ice. She created an ice wall. I erased the action that formed it. No wall. She started laughing while retreating. Your skills make no sense. Thank you. Then she raised both hands. The entire arena temperature dropped below freezing. She did not create ice around me. She changed the environment. No evidence could not erase a continuous condition. My breath froze. The floor became slick. Snow blinded me. Mina sat on a throne of ice at the center. Winter Throne amplified her power, as long as she remained seated. That was hilarious and dangerous. She looked like a final boss. I opened my status. I could reroll, but I was running low on EXP, so I used the dumbest skill I had, edible logic. I grabbed a chunk of arena ice. I told myself it was a chill snack. Then I ate it. The system interpreted the symbolism. Temporary effect acquired. Calm under pressure. My mind became ridiculously clear. I noticed the rule behind Winter Throne. Mina had to remain seated. I did not need to attack her. I just needed to move the throne. Conceptual throw. I could not claim ownership, but I could establish control by touching. I sprinted through the snow. Mina launched spears. Blink. 1 second gone. I reappeared beside the throne. I touched the ice. Control established. I threw the throne straight upward. Mina went with it. Her eyes became huge. The throne rose 20 meters. Mina jumped off before leaving the arena barrier. The moment she stopped sitting, Winter Throne weakened. I activated Absolute Receipt. I had stored damage from the entire fight. Refund. I aimed at the ground beside her, not at her body. The blast exploded. Mina was pushed outside the boundary. Match over. I won the crown selection. The crowd cheered. Taesik booed because he was still angry about my hair sacrifice. Ara cried. My mother waved a bakery towel from the stands. Inspector Che looked like she had just acquired another headache. Then the tournament reward ceremony began. I received a medal, money, a guild contract I politely ignored, and one-day access to the national sealed dungeon called Heaven's Staircase. I had heard rumors about it. A vertical dungeon with 100 floors. Every floor contained stronger monsters. No one under age 20 had ever passed floor 30. The record for a full day was floor 47. I entered at sunrise carrying food, water, 2 pairs of shoes, a mop, several rolls of coins, and enough stupidity to make history. Floor 1 contained goblins. Cleaned. Floor 2 contained wolves. Thrown. Floor 3 contained slimes. Cleaned. Floor 5 contained armored orcs. Debt collected. Floor 10 contained a giant snake. I used edible logic and convinced it that its own tail was comfort food. It began eating itself. I felt slightly guilty. Then it dropped a rare skill crystal. Guilt vanished. Floor 15 contained a lava golem. Divine Janitor could not clean lava. Conceptual Throw could not easily move something that large without EXP. So I re-rolled Dragon Respiratory System. It became Iron Lungs. Then Storm Breath. Then A-Rank Vacuum Mouth. I almost stopped because the name was funny. Again. S-Rank World Inhale. Effect. Inhale environmental energy, gases, and loose elemental phenomena into a temporary internal storage space. I looked at the lava golem. Then I inhaled. The fire covering its body flew into my mouth. My cheeks puffed. The golem became dark stone. I punched it. It shattered. Then I had a problem. I had stored several tons of magical fire inside my lungs. The skill warned me I needed to exhale. I aimed up the staircase. I breathed out. The fire beam cleared floors 16 through 18 before I even entered them. EXP messages stacked so fast I could not read. I started laughing. Heaven's Staircase became my personal farm. Floor 20 contained undead soldiers. Cleaned. Floor 25 contained a Thunderbird. I used Absolute Receipt to refund lightning. Floor 30 contained 3 Minotaurs. Coward's Miracle turned me into a blur. Floor 35 contained a Hydra. I re-rolled Edible Logic again. After several terrible food skills, it became SSS-Rank Devour Meaning. Effect. By consuming a symbolic piece of a target, temporarily steal one conceptual trait associated with it. I cut off a tiny piece of Hydra scale. I ate it. It tasted like regret. Trait stolen. Regeneration. The Hydra bit my shoulder. My flesh healed immediately. I grinned. Then I ate a piece of one of its horns. Trait stolen. Multiple focus. My brain split attention across several tasks. I fought, re-rolled, checked EXP, ate snacks and complained internally at the same time. I defeated the Hydra and reached floor 40 in 2 hours. The dungeon administrators outside started panicking. Floor 45 contained an army of stone giants. I used Conceptual Throw to throw their formation. The giants suddenly reorganized into a single file line. Then I hit them one at a time. Floor 50 contained a boss nobody had publicly described. When the door opened, I found a golden knight sitting alone. No giant monster, no army, just one knight. His status appeared. Guardian of the 50th step. Rank, SSS. My smile disappeared. The knight stood. He drew a sword. Then my system flashed. Warning. Target possesses authority type skill. Skill reroll interference possible. That was new. Very new. The knight moved. I barely saw him. His sword crossed my neck. Editor's privilege. Blink. 1 second vanished. I reappeared behind him. He turned instantly. Too fast. I used Coward's Miracle. Speed increased. He matched it. I used Conceptual Throw on his sword's direction. The sword ignored me. Authority resistance. He kicked me across the chamber. Absolute Receipt recorded damage. I refunded it. The Golden Knight took the hit and did not move. For the first time in weeks, I felt completely outclassed. I loved it, because strong enemies gave more EXP. I opened skill reroll. The knight raised his sword. I rerolled absolute receipt. S-rank damage reflection became B-rank mirror skin. Again. A-rank shared pain. Again. S-rank final invoice. Effect. Accumulate all damage received for 30 seconds. At the end, convert remaining health into a multiplied retaliatory strike. Dangerous. I kept it. The knight attacked. I stopped dodging. Sword cut my arm. Kick hit my ribs. Punch broke my guard. My health dropped. Final invoice stored everything. 30 seconds. I needed to survive. I used Devour Meaning. I bit a tiny broken piece from the knight's golden armor. Trait stolen. Durability. My skin hardened. The knight hit me again. I stayed standing. 10 seconds. 5. 1. Final invoice activated. All stored damage condensed into my fist. I punched. The Golden Knight blocked. The collision cracked the entire floor. His armor shattered. He slid backward for the first time. Then he laughed. The golden helmet opened. There was no face inside. Only stars. He spoke. You carry the reroll authority. My blood turned cold. No one was supposed to know that name. I asked who he was. He raised his broken sword. I was waiting for you. The floor disappeared. I fell, not to floor 51. Down, past 52, past 60, past 70. The staircase walls became black. My system windows flickered. I crashed onto a platform surrounded by darkness. The Golden Knight landed in front of me. The dungeon interface changed. Hidden floor unlocked. Floor 0. The place beneath heaven's staircase. Hundreds of giant chains stretched into the darkness. At the center floated a door. A black crown symbol was carved into it. The same symbol from the skill graveyard. My government agent card suddenly burned hot inside my pocket. Inspector Cha's voice came through the emergency communication crystal. Jiwon, leave the dungeon now. We detected a second gate signature under the staircase. I looked at the black door. The system opened a new message. Origin authority detected. Skill reroll synchronization. 1%. I forgot how to breathe again. The Golden Knight pointed at the door. Your authority is incomplete. I asked what that meant. He said the system I possessed was only one fragment of something older. Something created before modern awakenings. Something that could not just reroll skills. It could reroll rules. The door began opening. Black light leaked through the gap. Every skill on my status screen trembled. Conceptual throw. Editor's privilege. Devour meaning. All of them flashed as if afraid. Then another message appeared. Unknown entity is attempting to re-roll the dungeon. Success chance, rising. I did not understand until the world changed. The stone platform became flesh. The chains became giant bones. The darkness became a red sky. Heaven's staircase disappeared. A new dungeon formed around me. Recommended rank. Impossible. Clear condition. None. Survival chance. Re-rolling. The Golden Knight raised his sword. I raised my hands. My EXP count started dropping by itself. Something was spending it. Not me. My skill reroll window opened. One final line appeared. Second authority holder detected. Then, from beyond the black door, someone laughed. And for the first time since I awakened Pebble Toss, the reroll button turned red.